everybody. This is Bridget Aids with Bridgeting the Gap. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's video is very personal. It's very different from anything else I've done, but I think it's going to be very important, and I hope that you enjoy the video. Grab a Kleenex. So this video is about my daughter, Kristen, our daughter, Kristen, and her partner, Dana, and our grandkids, Victoria, Zach, and Faith. So, my husband and I, we went out to Florida to see our daughter graduate from Florida State University from Tallahassee. And we were very, very excited to be able to be a part of that. During our trip out to Florida, we also took a tour of the damage of Hurricane Michael, and we got to see our daughter's property. Now, I want you to understand, we were sensitive to our daughter when this hurricane hit, but we had no idea of the damage that happened. Many people took for granted a hurricane. I've heard comments, oh, we've been through hurricanes before. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. Well, it's a big deal when you personally have lost everything. In this video, you're going to see us take a tour of our daughter's home and her partner, Dana. Is going to be our daughter-in-law soon. We're very excited about that. But she's going to take us through the house. And here's something I want you guys to understand. They have what they call widowmakers. They're trees that snap off from the top and they just lean on the ground and they literally look like a V. And those are the most dangerous trees possible because you don't know when they're going to snap and fall, what side they're going to fall on. Our daughter and Dana had a property with probably 100 to 120 trees without exaggeration, and there's probably 20 to 25 trees left standing. How their home was not hit in the middle by a tree is beyond me. As Dana put it, it was slightly a miracle. Only one tree hit their home and it's in the corner, and the whole house shook. Dana put the whole family underneath beams of the house, just hoping and praying if a tree hit, it would hit on that beam. Well, we're very fortunate to say everybody was alive. Everybody is doing good now, but what they had to go through was horrible. There were comments like, well, they should have moved. They should have taken the kids here. They should have done that. They shouldn't have done this. They shouldn't have done that. Well, we can all say that, but here's the thing that I didn't even realize. Their road was shut down for at least 6 weeks because of the trees blocking everything. And you can't just move these trees. These are trees that are 50, 60, 100 years old, if not older. Huge. They couldn't move them. If you move one tree, will it make a widowmaker fall and kill somebody? There's a lot of things that happen. Also, too, they had to buy their own trailer. Well, we could hear comments. Why did they spend so much money on a trailer? Why did they do this? Why did they do that? Let me tell you why. It's not like after a hurricane, when you go to a place to buy a trailer, there's a plethora of trailers left to purchase. You buy what you can to put your family in and stay away from the mildew and the mold. There were no hotels. There wasn't even a Walmart. There wasn't even a grocery store left. They put everything together last minute. They did what they could to survive, be safe, and remain as healthy as possible. Imagine living 6 to 8 weeks without electricity, just imagine everything that you have in electricity. They created their own fun. They created their own best family time possible. And not only that, but our daughter chose to finish her master's degree during the hurricane. Her professor said we could bypass this year, and she said, heck no, we cannot. This right here is important to me and my family. So she would study, she would have her printer underneath the seat in the trailer and print all her stuff, do all her homework, plus all the disaster happening around her. But she finished and graduated. I'm very proud of you, Kristen. Dana, I'm very happy that you were there to help the family. Victoria, Zach, and Faith, I'm sorry you had to go through all that. I can't even imagine 160 miles per hour wind, over 25, I want to read this for you, $25.1 billion in damage in Florida alone. 160 miles winds, 74 deaths, 59 in Florida alone, 15 in Central America. This affected the islands around Florida. Over 200,000 people outside of Florida were without power for weeks and sometimes a month. Panhandle, Mexico City, Panama City suffered the worst, right where our daughter was at. So we can say a lot of things. Oh, not to mention $6 billion on Tyndall alone. Okay. Crazy. This is crazy. There is no Tyndall Air Force Base left. So anyway, the reason why I'm putting this together is I hope that we could put, differences aside and realize that everybody survived. A tree could have hit their house. They had over 120 trees in their property, 25 maybe left. Not one tree hit to damage the house. What did happen is they lost their roof and everything flooded, so they lost everything. One tree did hit on the side of the house. Dana will be sharing that story with you on this video, and it jumbled the whole house. So can you imagine oh my God, it was unbelievable. So anyway, when my husband and I toured Florida, we were shocked by what we saw. And I said, this can't be the end of it. I have to do something. I don't know what I can do, but maybe there's $1 you can donate. Maybe there's $50 you could donate. I don't know if there's still a Michael fund. I don't know what there is, or offer to help the schools. Our daughter lost their school. It was pretty much lost. So anyway, enough said. Hope that you could watch this with a forgiving heart, a loving heart, compassionate heart, and maybe we all, myself included, when we hear of a hurricane happening somewhere, a disaster, to really just take a moment and pray and wish them the best. All right, you guys, enjoy the video and my very first documentary. I don't know how good it'll be, but enjoy it. I'm sure it'll be eye-opening. Take care, and thank you for listening.
Faith and I were in the front yard working, and this van pulled down the road, and nobody was coming down our road for any kind of reason whatsoever. But for some reason, this one day, this van pulled down, and we were like, So I walked up to the road, and it was a little old lady and a little old man from the Salvation Army, and they stopped, and they said, how many people on your lot? And they asked us how we were doing, of course, first. And we told them, and she opened up the back of her van and gave us 3 hot meals, and it was chicken and dumplings, and it was delicious. And it did not last very long, but they were just so sweet and so precious. They just stopped and gave us what we needed and said, God bless you, we'll be back to check on you, and it was sweet.
What did you find about people after this hurricane, Kristen? What did you see in people? What was different?
Two polar opposites. Either
Okay.
they were here for to be a true blessing to the community and to help us rebuild and recover and recoup, or they were just here to take advantage of people and get what they could out of the situation, no matter the cost to the victims of Hurricane Michael and their families. And they were just here for their own selfish needs and wants.
Yeah. What happened with your school that you were teaching at?
Our gym, the 3 walls of the gym fell in, so we lost our entire facility. And the one side was classrooms, and those blew away 2 blocks away. And then the building that I taught in, especially over my wing, we lost our roof, and so everything in it was a complete loss. And they're still not in the building. They're still rebuilding, trying to recover a little bit. So we were out of school for 6 weeks, and then when we returned to school, teachers taught on their concrete floors and made the best of things, and the kids were fantastic and learned what they could for the rest of the school year. We ended up getting portables after a little bit, and every classroom was doubled up, so there was 2 in each grade level. There was 2 classes with 2 teachers in 1 room, and they did that for the entire school year, rest of the school year. And then hopefully all things, if all the planets align, those teachers will be having their own classrooms this year. And they have yet to rebuild some of the things, like they want to build a new kitchen for the cafeteria, and there's no gym yet or anything like that, but the classrooms will be salvaged, in the bathrooms. We had portable bathrooms the entire school year as well, so they'll have real bathrooms and real classrooms this starting out school August 12th, so that'll be a good thing.
Awesome. So if you wouldn't mind, share with us a little bit about Victoria and Zach. Just the day this happened, and how have they changed as kids since this?
The day of the storm, I'm totally gonna cry. It's very emotional. They are very resilient, very, very strong kids. And I hate that they even had to go through it, but none of us knew the extent of what the storm was going to be. And we just weren't prepared for it, knowing what was going to happen. We were not prepared for a Cat 5 storm. We were prepared for a Cat 3 storm, or a Cat 2 storm. And but so during the storm, Victoria, she was 16 at the time, 17 now. She got anxious at one point and was hyperventilating, and which when all the trees were falling on the property, and so we were able to get her calmed down and kind of just in a peaceful zen place, because the storm was how many hours? Like 5 hours?
I think it was like 4 total.
Yeah. And but Zach, he's 13, and he when the roof came off and the water came in, he had already had earbuds and he was listening to music, trying to find a calm place to be just in his own head. And we just when roof came off, water came down, he looked at me and he said, "Mom, this is not okay." And I said, "I know it's not okay." Then I couldn't do anything else. We had to get out of there into a safe place in the house. And so we did. We went to the hallway and he put on Dana's noise canceling earmuffs over his headphones, and we had piles of pillows and blankets, and we hunkered down in the dark and in the heat, and had the dogs in our little hallway, and we tried to make sure that we lived through the storm.
I know this is difficult, and I thank you for sharing that. Right. Love you.
Love you.
This was all cleared. We spent a lot of time. I mean, you can kind of see the fence back there. That was our chicken coop. We had 6 chickens prior to the storm. I'm sorry, 4 chickens prior to the storm, and they made it. They made it through. We went out as soon as things died down enough. We ran through the backyard, opened up the pen, and the 4 chickens were in their roosting boxes. We scooped them up and got them onto the patio, but it missed by an inch or so, hitting their coop.
How many trees would you say you had back here at one time?
40 or so, maybe, probably more. So we had several pretty close to the house that I had just paid, luckily, to have them trimmed up, and we had a lot outlining the fence. But then on top of that, our neighbors' trees came this way, so when they fell, then we had ours fall, and it just became a overwhelming madness. You couldn't walk back this far. This was all covered in trees and limbs, and they had, you can see over here this was a piece of our roof that came off. There's metal out here, there's chunks of the roof, there's logs, trees, So, you know, cutting it is not as simple as just starting up the mower and going. It's a dangerous game because that lawnmower blade catches stuff and it slings it, and it just. I learned that the hard way.
Oh boy.
And so now it's just a waiting game, waiting on insurance to settle and pay us to be able to take care of this and get it cleaned up. But we were able, once the storm ended, we were able to kind of fix and repair that. That was where, you know, we ate and hung out and did everything because
This was your family room, basically. I remember
Pretty
being
much,
out
yeah.
there, and they had a really cool coin top for your bar. You guys worked on that forever. Was it a coin top or was it a beer top bar?
bottle cap.
Bottle caps.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we're able to salvage those though, so hopefully we'll be able to continue that in the new home.
And this is what they had as the dining room right here, the least affected room. And this, look at the water still pouring in, Dana. Is that from the rain yesterday?
Yeah, so every time it rains, it comes through. So this tongue and groove is the decking. So when the roof rolled off in the storm, I had the family, I had moved them over here because we had trees going down left and right, and if you heard them, you would hear the crack, and you knew a tree was going down, but we didn't know where they were. And so I knew this was a main support beam of the house.
Ah.
And so I tried to have we were all kind of huddled up here. And when the roof rolled off, water immediately started pouring in between these panels or planks.
Yeah.
And it was a waterfall. So water just started pouring in. And so shortly after that, when we were focusing on trying to get the water cleaned up, the board that I had covering this window got sucked off.
Oh my gosh.
And at that point, I knew we needed to move because nothing was protecting this window. Things were still blowing around. That you can see the pole right there. That was our telephone pole, our flagpole.
Yeah.
And I went out in the middle of the storm because it had bent. So I went out and grabbed it and pulled it back down to the ground because I didn't want that to
Project into
through our
the
window.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got that cleaned up, and then I moved the rest of the family down into this hallway because this is where chaos was happening, and we had water just pouring in the house. We moved furniture, tried to get it out of the way. We were throwing towels down. We had all these buckets. We went and grabbed them. Had pots, pans, anything that we could to catch water. And Faith and I, Faith's my oldest daughter, we were catching water and then dumping it in the trash or in the tubs and the toilets or whatever. So we and so we were able to, we were focused on that, and then we had the kids over here, which watch your step walking on this because it's super slick. And this is wet in here too. This was not originally affected by the storm in the immediate.
Okay.
But because of our roof being foam, as time went on and them not getting it repaired, it kind of sucked this way. So if you look up, that's what all our ceilings looked like prior to them falling in. And, so the kids and Kristen rode out the last part of the storm right here. It was good and dark, and because all the windows were all boarded up still. And so I was able to put pillows down and blankets, and both the kids were able to sleep for a little bit. But this was Zach's bedroom, and so this side's still kind of okay, but you can see that corner, it's sagging and mildew's coming in. So I mean, it's just saturated. The walls are totally saturated with water.
Dana, how long did you guys stay in the house that the hurricane, that you bunkered down? How many hours was that?
Honestly, I don't even know. It felt like,
Eternity, I'm sure.
yeah, I felt like 30 minutes and 6 hours all at the same time. Because my adrenaline kicked in pretty early on, and then once the water started, I just never stopped. I just kept moving and trying to fix what I could, knowing good and well that there wasn't anything I could do.
Yeah.
I think the total time for the storm was, right at 4 hours, but I'm not confident in that answer.
Yeah.
It felt like a really long time, and
I bet.
it was laying down in bed that night, going, well, what do we do now?
Yeah.
How do we fix this? Because we walked outside and just saw all the trees down, and you couldn't see the road, and you couldn't see your yard. But then you look and you go, okay, well, we're safe. Nobody in the
Yeah.
family got hurt. Nobody. Our house is still standing, and for some unknown, remarkable reason, no tree landed on the house.
I find that with all the trees that you have.
Well, everything just fell perfectly around. The only place that a tree touched the roof was right here, and you can actually still see the tree right there, and it
Yep.
just barely caught the edge. But when it hit, it shook the entire house. In fact, as soon as it hit, I ran through the house looking for the hole. And so we were very lucky. We were
Yeah.
very lucky that because so many others had trees come through their house while they were in it.
Dana, do you have an idea of how many people lost their life through just that? Trees?
I think the count was due to Hurricane Michael and the cleanup effort. I think it's right at like 25.
Wow.
So a lot. Nobody. You don't want anybody to lose their life.
But what could have
because of
been?
the severity of it.
Yes.
That number is relatively low.
Yeah.
Considering what we all went through and the severity. Because nobody knew. Nobody knew it was going to be that bad till the last minute, and it got to the point where you couldn't evacuate.
Right.
The roads were bogged down, and it was a gamble. If you got in your car and tried to leave, were you going to get far enough away? And then what's safer, being in your home or being in a car on the side of the road? And so a lot of people felt like they were stuck and they couldn't get out because it progressed so quick. We had been told it's going to be a 2, it's going to be a 2, and then, it's a 3, and then, it's a really strong 3, and then it was hours before the storm, and they said, it's a 4, it's going to be pushing the 5. And at that point, you just hold on and hunker down. So, and that's what we did. So, this half of the house is still where we moved everything. All of our personal property that we could save was pushed in that room and this room. And so we had dehumidifiers running around the clock trying to protect what we could.
Right.
And once you get to a certain point, there's no salvaging. So this was we got pretty much everything out of here, but you can see, this ceiling is still in good shape. It didn't get quite the damage, and it's hot in here because the dehumidifier cranks it up. So,
Oh my goodness. It's interesting. I wish all of you could smell this house. It is beyond terrible. Truly beyond terrible. This is what used to be their living room. And in there is part of the kitchen. This is what's left of, this is the room. These rooms were hit the hardest, weren't they, Dana?
yeah, because this was all open, this room kind of took a brunt too. The roof never, and the ceiling never was affected in here.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have the sagging ceiling and the moisture or any water coming in
Yeah.
here.
And this is the room I was showing earlier, is the family room that's just not there anymore. And this is the kitchen, which was really hit the absolute hardest. These are not living conditions. You cannot live in here. As you can see, the mold growing on everything in here. Take a look at that. These are kitchen cabinets. This is just unbelievable, Dana. Unbelievable. And this was a part of the kitchen that is no longer. There's flies and all kinds of, it's eye-opening for sure. And where we're gonna go now, Dana? Where did you wanna take us?
We'll head to the backyard.
We're
so you
gonna,
can see.
we need to get out of this house. It's the odor is beyond unbelievable. So we're heading out now. All right, so we're outside. I want you guys to take a look at this. This is what they made as a makeshift, I guess, kitchen family room, and it's actually outside patio. So Dana, if you could tell us a little bit about how you converted all of this.
When we finally got the camper brought in, and the camper has an outdoor kitchen and it has a spot where you can hang a TV, and it's got the awning, but we were told to be really careful using the awning because any strong wind in our camper could flip. So we didn't want to do that. So we took our carport and we moved our table from around back because just going through the house was not only not fun, but just kind of brought up a lot of memories, and we tried to stay out as much as possible. For
Would it
health
be
reasons.
dangerous as well? Because you don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
if something's going to collapse.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, just the smell. In the middle of everything, I had sinus surgery because I was having a constant sinus infection. So I had surgery, and so they told me to stay away from it. And so we put our table out here and had our baker's rack and the grill and everything. So we would try to do all of our cooking outside. And then we had a little paper around, well, that table right there, the folding table we would set up, and we'd move the TV out here, and I would turn on my mobile hotspot on my phone, and we'd be able to watch a movie on Netflix or Hulu and just try to have normal family time.
Yeah.
You know, all the while fighting the mosquitoes, and which that screen that we had hung up, the rest of it kind of got messed up from the weather, but we had that to try to shield us. It was right around Christmas time, and so we put our Christmas tree out here, and we put lights up and had decorations sitting out and tried to make it as normal as we possibly could. So, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
you do what you can do and
Right.
try to make it handle the punches as they come. But it was not something I want to have to repeat in my
I
life.
bet.
So.